Sideline Squib. It's a long time coming. Steve, Andrew, what say you? This is the sideline, yeah. Funny, it's my time then. Put me in right now then. Squib, 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 boy. This is the sideline, Funny, it's my time then. Yeah. Put me in right now then. Squib, 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 boy. This is the squib, info stick up to your ribs. Chips be coming with that dip. Go ahead, put it to your lips. My oh my, that is delish. Victory gon' taste like this. Y'all bought that big old boat, but these boys built you a bridge. Sit down and take notes. If you want you a trophy.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sideline Squib. Here with Andrew Lehigh, co-host from Kansas City. How you doing, Andrew? How are things going in the Midwest? I know weather's killing us over here on the East.
Well, Steve, who all of a sudden can't communicate because his internet says terrible, I'm doing great because my internet is strong. My girlfriend works for a telecommunications company, so we're A-okay on the internet situation. If you want to go ahead and pull up your side view, that'd probably be a good idea. But anyways, we're doing good. Weather here is good. Just trying to inch our way towards the football season and, kind of get through these dog days of summer, if you will. Weather has actually been, pretty mild in general for the Midwest. So just chilling, man, just getting through it.
I love it. And we're joined with Michael Royer from the Dynasty Dad Podcast and from the Dynasty Refinery. Mike, how are you this evening?
Great. I'm glad we're finally getting on here. I know we've been talking for a couple months here about you coming on our show, us coming on yours, but I'm excited to be here and talk some Dynasty.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, you're only an hour away from me now. We're still waiting for things to open back up. We can go out, grab a beer, hang out a little bit and talk some football.
We've been talking about that beer for a while now.
I know.
COVID kind of jumped in there and it just feels like a different world now. It's so difficult trying to explain things to your kids. You can't go to the movies. You can't do those things. And when it comes to your boys, you can't even go get a beer.
Yeah. It's I just want things to open back up. November 4th, the election. We'll see what happens after that. Andrew. So what are your thoughts, Andrew? I mean, we got a lot of things going on. We were talking a little bit backstage about, the trading card ordeal that's going on. Madden's out next week, kind of just shooting the crap. What's your thoughts? What's going on in the football world these days?
I mean, the trading card situation is hot, man. I am so green and new to the whole thing again, but I'm super excited about it being popular again because if it can be like a nice 10 to 12, 15-year run of it being popular, being long enough for my kid to enjoy it, for Roman to enjoy it. So hopefully that's something that we can do as a family and as a father-son situation. I know Mike just had a at-home draft of a literally home draft with his kids. So just something like that to look forward to moving along as a dad and a fan of sports. Hopefully he gravitates to the same thing. If he doesn't, he doesn't. It's completely within his right. But if he does, then this is something we can absolutely relate with. So, yeah, trading cards, fantasy football, Madden, all that kind of stuff. He'll probably whoop my butt in Madden now. I haven't played Madden in forever. Steve, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to hurt him. Anyways, Mike,
I can take over on that. Yeah.
Talk to me about your draft you had with your kids. Talk to me about that.
First off, I love the idea. At the Dynasty Dad Podcast, one thing I'm trying to do is we had Tyler Gunther on the other day, and I'm trying to get people on and talk about their life, their fantasy life. As far as with me, I got my kids and they're totally into fantasy football. They're totally into, I was big into collecting trading cards, and in the 90s that was huge. And like you said, I mean, I'm hoping that that's something that translates over because we love spending the time with our kids. We all love fantasy football. We love dynasty football. We love video games, that kind of stuff. And when your kids get involved, it's just like another level. My kids have been doing a fantasy draft now this is our 5th year. And, got the draft board back here behind me. I put that out there and, it was great because my kids straight up I mean, I have a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old. And the 13-year-old dominated the first couple years, and he was like, "This is easy." And we do it for money. Like back in the day when Toys R Us was still there 5 years ago, it was $50 gift card for first, 25 for second, and then 2 10s. This year we're just at 50 and 10 from Target, But they love that because it's like they get to talk a little bit of trash, and they're doing their draft here. And my middle son, he's like, I really want to get Patrick Mahomes because I love him, but he's like, Dad, I hear you talking about Christian McCaffrey all the time. He's like, you can't take a quarterback in the first round. He goes, I heard you say that, So it's like, it's super cool. And my daughter, she was on Fantasy Pros, checking out the ADP, writing down notes. And it's just like those proud dad moments, now they get to watch football with me and enjoy it. And Madden is coming out, like you guys said. I mean, my kids are at that age where I get to play them in Madden. And my ex-wife used to harass me about this, but I never let them win. I always
you can't let them win. Don't let them win, bro.
No, because that's the part where it's like, we're playing hoops, we're doing anything. I can't let them win. I'm just like, I got to establish dominance as long as possible. But I'll let them go till like they'll get a 14-point lead with like 2 minutes left, so I can just come back and win by 1. Just crush their hopes and dreams a little bit and put Dad up on a bet.
Sports are just right, yeah.
Exactly. So that's the fun stuff about being a dad.
That's what it's like. That's what it's like to be a Kansas City sports fan up until Patrick Mahomes arrived. To be honest, I mean, I'm a Mizzou fan too, Royals fan up and up until 5-6 years ago. That was equally as depressing. So it's good for your character. It's good for your human being to kind of go through those trial and tribulations. And you don't want to just go into every year knowing you're going to suck, because that's not building anything. The best part is whenever you think you might be good, and then they take you all the way to the AFC Championship game, and you intercept Tom Brady, and you're going to go to the Super Bowl, but actually D Ford lined up offside, so your hopes and dreams are really ripped out from underneath you. That's the best part. That's the fun part.
My NFL story can't be any worse with that. So I'm an Eagles fan now. So luckily, we won our Super Bowl, but it was the NFC title game we couldn't get past, right? Before that, when I was in high school, I was a big Bills fan, so it gets even worse. It was like I'm so
could always be worse.
So
yeah, I don't know. Up until that point, it was the Andrew Luck fumble recovery at the goal line that he dove into the end zone. That was the moment that really was a rip your heart out moment, where you blow like a 30-point lead because Jamal Charles goes down. Yeah, it's a good time, man. Good time. Love to be a Chiefs fan.
Well, it could get worse.
Yeah, it's
it's good. Nothing's happened since 2008 when Derek Carr broke his leg. So
yeah, there's a helmet behind you. That's
that one.
Disturbing.
Sorry, guys. Switched over to a different computer here. I'm kind of mic-less, headphone-less. So good old technology won again. It gets me just about every other week. But
we're actually going to open a GoFundMe account for Steve's internet provider. If you guys want to go ahead, I'm going to drop a link in the comments.
I'm in the middle of nowhere. My wife brought me out here. I've always been a city guy, and now I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. I can hear the neighbors 2 miles down the street yelling at each other on the front porch. Like, I'm at one wind blows and I lose it all. And it doesn't help that we stream everything too. So if anything else is on in the house or was left on, it kills me. I need to start making that a routine before we jump on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but that's definitely worth the challenge there. And like always, you guys hear the trophy smack at the front. If you want, use code Squib. Go out there and get yourself an awesome trophy, or they actually have some grills now, the Paul Wall grills you can wear out and about. Use code Squib. Get yourself a $60 or $59 ring. That season is coming up right now. So guys, make sure that you're set for your league. And if you're not, tell your commissioners to get out there. All it is $5, $10 extra per person. You guys can get this awesome looking trophy, championship belt, ring, whatever it is you guys want. Make it exciting. Not only have the money, but have the the hardware to show up to the next draft with, and kind of show off the talent that you put all that research in, from no matter who you listen to or what research you did on your own. Talking about challenges, I mean, what do you guys think? So with COVID happening this year, colleges now have extended the eligibility for some of these fifth-year seniors in fall and spring sports. I guess my question would be is, as Dynasty owners and Dynasty players, where or how do you guys value the 2021 draft picks now? Are you still treating them as first-round picks? Are you trying to move them off before whatever decision is made of which players come back, which players do not come back, or are you guys still going about it as normal?
For me personally, I mean, I'm treating those first round picks as normal first round picks. But thinking about it a little bit deeper, I'm starting to fade some of those second rounders. Normally, I hold on to my second rounders, and I try to use them in season. But your normal guys are going to come out. I mean, we have obviously been talking about Lawrence and Fields and Etienne and Hubbard and Moore and Chase. I mean, it is a fantastic class, and I'm seeing Twitter way too often. People are discounting these 21 picks now because they don't feel like these players are going to come out. And I feel like some of those guys that show up every year, the guys that show up and you're like, wow, that guy really came out from under the radar. I mean, obviously they're not going to be available. So I don't feel like it's going to be as deep as it was this particular year. I mean, this year, some of these guys that we drafted, they didn't have fantastic, freshman, sophomore year, but they balled out as a junior and then they increased their draft stock dramatically, where we're not going to have that opportunity now. We're going to have to see what these guys are doing. And I feel like it's not going to be it's going to be top heavy, just like we thought, but I don't think it's going to be as deep.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to limit, and I like what you touched on with the second rounders there, because I'm one of those guys too. I like to stockpile second, third round picks because I feel that I'm confident enough in the research I do that I'm going to find somebody that can produce in those rounds. And especially if you have multiple picks in that round, it's almost like you can get them for free from some owners. But you're right. It's going to definitely play an angle here. Cause like if this happened last year, Joe Burrow might not be a thing at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So some of these players that take that extra year or take that transfer year or whatever. I mean, I know our guy, we're huge on Jamie Newman. I can't wait for him to play in Georgia now. And who knows? I mean, he might have lost out on his shot. Not lost out, but just not had enough, visibility. So I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting. Andrew, what's your take on this? What do you think? Which way are you playing 2021 draft picks, or what do you think the decisions of some of these players may be as they come into their fifth year, if you want to call it that?
Yeah, I think for the most part, the players that like Mike just touched on, the studs, they were already coming out as a junior anyway. They were already gonna. The senior guys are the ones who are already going to be second round fantasy picks anyways. For the most part, outliers obviously exist in any format, any situation, but for the planning of what the outcome is most likely to be, those second round draft picks were going to be seniors anyways. They were going to be guys who came on late. So, like you said, the top part of the draft doesn't really change for me. You obviously have the studs that we all assume are going to continue to work towards their dream and declare for the NFL like they should. I think if anything, how mishandled this has been by the college football landscape of the NCAA itself and individual conferences, it only shines a light on the fact that there is no coverage for these kids, man. They are 100% at will from these guys who clearly aren't capable of formulating a plan when they had ample amount of time to do so. So for me, if I was a player and I was an agent for a player, or potentially going to be someone who had ability to get to their ear at this moment, I would say, yeah, I would be declaring for the NFL as well. Take the Bosa approach, take the situation or the situation where you can't hurt your draft stock by going into this by declaring early. At this point, so no one's going to frown upon it. No one's going to give you a negative light, say that you chose yourself over the team. There's nothing like that right now. So if you're in a situation where you're your day 1 or 2 pick, there's absolutely no way I'm playing college football this year. There's no reason to go back to school next year with a year off in between all of that. That doesn't sound fun to me. So for if I was a college kid, I would absolutely be going back to. I'd be declaring for the NFL. For us as dynasty owners, I think it's situationally roster dependent on whether or not I'm stockpiling second round picks or I'm using those to buy up as much proven talent as I can. Like depending on how my window is, because it's not exactly like a full-on conclusion that the NFL season's even going to happen. You know what I mean? And so burning up all your draft picks and burning up a year of real time on some of these aging veterans doesn't make a lot of sense either. If they end up not producing or not playing a full season, then that's a wasted draft pick on guys that are eventually going to be in the NFL, whether that be in 2021 or 2022. They're eventually going to be in the NFL. So burning it up seems to be maybe reckless as well. So you gotta look within yourself, be honest with your roster and see what kind of situation you're really looking at before you go buying or selling all the 2021 picks, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's super clutch.
Is there a scenario? Is there a scenario, Mike, that you find yourself buying 2021 draft picks?
Well, I mean, in the Dynasty Happy Hour staff league, I'm buying them up everywhere because I'm doing that year one punt, and I'm finding them cheaper than ever. You know, I feel like people are they're not sure about football. They want players that are going to be out there, and if they're not going to be able to see those college football players, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind a little bit for some Dynasty owners. I mean, the savvy guys, they're going to, understand who's there, but I feel like a lot of players, they're not going to be able to. I feel like they're probably not going to be in that kind of situation where they're willing to sell them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think this year of all years, like 2020 itself, no one knows what's going to happen next. And I think a lot of owners are going to have to take that into the season, especially for fantasy wise. As a commissioner, what in the world? I don't even want to go down that road. Andrew, I know you're a commissioner. Mike, are you commissioner of any leagues?
12.
Oh my God. Yeah. So a great guy to have on for this, because I know where you're going with this. What do you do?
What do you do? What
I've sent out group me messages to everybody and just kind of touch base. And basically what we're saying is, I've set it up a slightly different in some of the leagues, but basically you have to lay it out with, this is what happens if there's no season. This is what happens if there's 4 games. This is what happens if there's 8 games. And this is what happens, if we get to week 12 and there's no kind of championship. And you got to put it all out there. If you're a commissioner and you're not talking about it, you're just kind of, we all want to believe there's going to be football, right? There's not a single one of us. That's why we're listening to this. That's why we're making this, is we want there to be football, but there is that outside situation. And I feel like it's going to happen. I mean, we are going to play, but who knows what happens in any kind of situation with players getting it. The way I broke it down is basically if it goes to if it doesn't make it past week 6, my bottom 6 teams, they're going to be in kind of an NBA lottery type pool, because I don't feel like it's fair that the guy that got 101 in 2019 automatically gets the 101 in 2020, because we've made moves at this point, right? So you shouldn't be blessed to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and, Trevor Lawrence. That's going to put you in a situation. So where I've done, weighted, there's websites that do that as far as weighted lottery balls, so you do things just like the NBA draft and give themselves an opportunity. So those bottom 6 teams still get it. The top 6, I'm putting them in that whatever you finish, that's where you are, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do with mine. And the tricky part is once it goes, if we get halfway through a season and then there's nothing, that's where it gets really tricky. And basically as a commissioner, you almost got to say to your league mates, listen, this is uncharted territory. We basically got to work with this together, as a commissioner and as league mates. I mean, no one's here trying to do this as a competitive edge. We're just trying to figure out how this is going to work out, and I think what I put, as long as it goes to week 12, we're going to consider it a season, and if it finishes at week 12 and there's no playoffs, whoever the number 1 team was. And I didn't do it as let's say the pot's $500. I said, we'll put out $250 to those guys, the 1 and 2 seed, whoever gets that, as if the season, played, but then we're going to use the rest of that money towards the next season. So it's dicey. It really is. I'm seeing so many people out there that are really, Commission Impossible's done a good job of that. There's a lot of podcasts that have really hammered that home, but it is going to be tricky.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I'm still curious, and maybe this is a conversation for another one, or if you want to jump on it, you can. Let's say as a commissioner, the season goes exactly 8 weeks. For some reason, it's dead in the water at that point, or 7 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. Then college doesn't play. We have 5th year coming back. What happens to those teams with their picks and their draft slot? Because you could have teams that are saying, okay, I don't like the draft class of 2021, so I'm going to stock up on 2022. But then are you pushing every draft back a season until it catches up? Or are we still going into the offseason with the draft picks they have no matter what, based off of the standings in this season, whether it's a full season, half season, partial season, whatever you want to call it?
I don't think you can move it back. I mean, I think that creates a bad situation there where teams that have traded to get into that situation, they want to be there. I'm glad you brought up 2022 picks, because nothing's cheaper than those right now. And I feel like when you do trades this kind of time of year, people are willing to throw those in there. I mean, they just like
Steve's talked about that. He's got like 7 or 8 2023s and 2022s because he's just like, hey, I like the deal, but can you throw a 2022 in? Can you throw a 2023 in?
Yeah, and you do the whole I'll give you a 22 second if you throw in your 22 first, because that's kind of what we're off on. And they're willing to do that. And I mean, let's be honest, we're talking about this being top heavy and some guys going back to school, and those guys that go back to school, they're not coming out till 2022. So I mean, it's a savvy move if you're willing to be patient.
Yeah, I kind of played the loophole in one of my leagues, the league Andrew's talking about. I have 7 first-round picks now in 2023, where when we first started the league, we were on my fantasy league, which I believe does 5 years ahead. Then we switched over.
I was going to say, I don't let any of mine go past 2, this year and next year.
Because people just throw them around like they're nothing, and then they have no team.
I see a Twitter poll where someone's like, I'm giving up my 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I'm like,
yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah. But I believe we started on MFL, and we started with a 5-year draft class. Then Sleeper came out, and we were like, oh, we're switching over to Sleeper. It's more doable for our league and how we play and all this stuff. Well, they couldn't see those years because it only went to 3 years, but we made it a rule. We had a Google Doc with all the teams, and if you traded in those years, you still were able to trade in those years. And I was the only team that made a move after the 3rd year. So I was able. So once we got on a Sleeper, it was like all we needed was confirmation. We had to have the screenshot, tell the commissioner, and everyone was like, yeah, I can't even see that on my thing. Yeah, you can have it. And now they're starting to populate into Sleeper one at a time. I love it.
What do you guys in the leagues that you guys do, and flip the question onto you, do you make them pay for the years they've traded? I know some leagues are very, very adamant about that. And others, they're like, no, we let them do it. And I'm like, if we get to 2023 and that guy's like, well, I'm out. And then all of a sudden you try to have somebody filter in, and it's like, so
almost every league I'm in, there may be 1 or 2 friend leagues or very confident that it's going to keep going leagues. I think one of Tyler's leagues may be like that. I don't know. But if you trade away a future, you have to pay that year's fees before you make the trade. If you receive it, you're fine. But if you're trading away, you have to pay up before you do. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other. I mean, you as a commissioner, I have 4 less than 12 leagues, and I don't want any more. I'm in enough leagues as non-commissioner. I don't need any other ones that are commissioner. There is it's so difficult to get people to take over teams that haven't been paid for, let alone if they're without draft picks. Like, 'cause at certain parts of the year, as we all know, it goes in a little cycle, and usually, after the end of the season, that's when we start figuring out, and we start figuring out who's going to be coming back for the next year, and anybody's trying to opt out, all those kind of things. Oh, hey, I've got a replacement owner. Oh, I don't have a replacement owner. I'm out. That's the time of year where draft picks are the most valuable, and if you don't have any, it makes that much more difficult to sell that team to someone else. Like, and I mean, as in a pitch, as in like, hey, yeah, this team really finished terribly, doesn't have any draft picks, and you're gonna have to sell the only assets you have in order to get those draft picks. Are you interested?
Yeah.
No, like no one is. So it's a detriment to the entire league, and then you have multiple people bowing out, and it is a demise.
Yeah, I don't know. More power to you, Mike. I don't know how you.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it, Mike. You have 4 kids in 12 commissioner leagues. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to start divvying it out to them. You'll be like,
yeah,
hey,
that's what you should do.
you guys are running this league now. You know what I mean?
Somebody has a problem on the chat. You're like, let me get the commissioner in here 1 second. Let me get the.
Yeah. Say I'm like a high I personality. I like to be liked. So my kids, they'll jump in there and they'll tell them how it is. I'm more the keep the peace kind of commissioner. You know what I mean? Try to work things out and try to get it going. But
well, Steve threw a big old wrinkle in Sleeper. I don't know how many leagues you have on Sleeper, but we just did a redraft league, a listener redraft league, and we uncovered that there's 2 Chris Herndons.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yes, there's a real one and a fake one. You don't know which one. You draft it, and then Sleeper makes an arbitrary decision on which one they're, I guess, declaring as their duplicate. Well, they did that, I guess, earlier overnight, and they decided that the one that Steve had was the duplicate. So the real Chris Herndon was on the waiver wire, and we had somebody go in there and grab the real Chris Herndon. And I'm like, oh my God, No.
That's
Yeah.
rough.
Like, we can't do that, man. Like we can't. Like
Little glitch. Sleeper glitch.
It kind of
thanks
ties
a lot, Sleeper.
it ties it in there with what we're talking about being commissioner. And I run both Dynasty Refinery Listener League 1 and 2. And one of the guys, he paid for his league and basically message. He's like, yo, I got a ton of gambling debt. Can you get me out? I can't be in any of the leagues. My wife doesn't want me in here.
Basically, my mom.
Yeah, basically, right. Yeah. But I was like, all right, what do you want me to do? And luckily, I mean, it's my, co-host's friend. I was like, all right, I'll square you away. So I put it on Twitter and I was like, anybody want this team? And they had already traded their 21 picks, but the guy jumped in and I was like, all right, sweet. So I send him the league safe link. And then I send him the link to MFL and he jumps on MFL before he pays for it. Right. Cause I sent them both at the same time.
Oh,
so you want to make sure they pay. He makes this horrible trade right off the bat, and without paying. And he was intending on paying, but the group chat went off on him.
Lit him up. Yeah.
They lit him up, and he goes, "I don't think this league is for me." He's like, "Because they ripped him a new one." And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, "What am I gonna do?" I got an empty team now that's made a trade that isn't paid, and then I'm like, I got to find this. And luckily, we found a guy who was, great guy for the fit. He paid for it. He was willing to do it, but it was like, that's a tough sell. He put me in like a weird spot. And then I had to trade the pieces back, to make it actually work. Cause I felt like if that guy didn't pay, it's not a fair kind of trade.
Yeah.
So,
it's like he wasn't even existing. Like,
right.
It's like you made a trade with the computer. Doesn't count.
Oh, it was bad too.
God, that's really bad. That's a really, really tough spot to be in.
But we worked out of it. We got a better owner because of it, but it was like, that's a tricky spot.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that I'm a commissioner of one league. I love it. It's the first Dynasty Listener League we had, which is the beer league, the Beer Buddies League, and that's everybody loves beer, so it's working out very, very well so far. Let's hope I think we had one hiccup, but other than that, it's been going well.
I'm still upset I didn't get into that one. You messaged me and I was like, yeah, I think I can do it. And then I'm like, man, we started Dynasty Refinery Listener League 1. Then my buddy's like, let's do a second one. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. And then I messaged you back and I was like 20 minutes after I told you no, I'm like, no, I still want to be in there. And it was like, oh, it's filled. I'm like, it's a great idea.
Do any of you guys still have a rookie league to go or rookie draft to go?
I just did my last one like a week and a half ago.
I have one left, and it's like technically the home league one, like a home league dynasty. It's like its second year or whatever, and it's like the quietest chat room ever. It's incredibly difficult. I'm like now part of the commission, like I'm a co-commissioner on there just because I'm trying to get stuff done, like trying to get it scheduled. It's scheduled for tomorrow. I don't even know if everyone's going to be there. I don't.
That's what I did on my last four. The last four, I became commissioner. I was like, yo, this is dead. I was like, can I just be co-commish and let's get this rolling and try to get it going? And then you're like, I hope everybody's here. I haven't heard from that guy for like 6 months.
Yeah. Like I don't know all of them. Like, all of them are friends with someone in the league, but I'm not friends with all of them in the league. You know what I mean? Like I haven't been in my hometown in forever. Moved all over the place. So I know like probably half of the people that are in the league, and they all know someone in the league. So it's like, I know they're not going to run out necessarily, but it's like at the same time, like, could I just get like anybody just acknowledge that this is actually happening? Because that would be super at this point. So yeah. Anyways, I didn't know if you guys were. And by the way, it's the only draft that I have the 101 in that I traded for in midseason and got the 101. So I have the 101 and a 105. That league is so even too. Like that, I finished 7-6 and have the 5th overall pick.
So good transition here. Talking about the 101, I do not have any dynasty leagues. I have one more redraft league. Again, it's one of these work leagues. Actually, pretty fun. I will admit, I stay.
They're the most fun. They're the least competitive, but most fun. Yeah. But
the thing is, it's a work league with people that I don't want to say they're not good at fantasy football.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's not competitive. It's
but
just
the entry fee's more than a lot of my dynasty leagues. Yeah, I'm joining this league.
Work leagues are always playing for big money,
Yeah, they are, because that's the only league they're in. They're not they're not in 25 of them. Like I'm like, oh my god,
awesome,
I'm in like all these best balls. Oh, by the way, did you guys see that FanDuel has best ball now?
Yeah, I did.
That's thanks a lot, FanDuel. I really appreciate that. Do you have a gambling problem? 1-800.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
All right. We're off the tracks here. Let me. I'm going to get back into Andrew. Andrew, you just touched on your draft tomorrow. You have the 101, 105, I believe you said. Let's jump into a little bit of player news on now that training camps are underway. We already saw we're past the NFL draft months ago. We're past the hype season of the videos of the players working out off season in their underwear and doing all these things. Whatever. Now
Preston Williams caught a 9 route today or yesterday with no one around him and everyone freaked out.
Yeah.
Like I was like, dude, semi-pro guys do this.
Yeah, they had Tua. Tua was throwing like 5-yard slants, and they were like, "Look at how crisp this is." And I'm like,
"Oh my
yards.
Jesus Christ!" I'm a fan of both of those guys, but chill for a second.
So, what have you guys picked up on? Obviously, it's still very early in the process of everything, but they're on the field. They're on the field. They're at least out there with their teammates, being whatever they want to be, social distancing, protective of themselves and whatnot, and let's just start with Tua. You mentioned Tua, Mike. His mobility looks great early on, but then reports came out that it looks like Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to win that spot, at least to start. What do you see in Tua? Do you think he's healthy? Do you think his hips are as good as what the doctors are saying or the reports are saying?
This is the time of year I feel like is a real trap. Like people overhype what's going on in the videos. They face putting dad. No, they overhype what's going on in the videos. They overhype. Like if we did the research, if you did your research in April and May and you really hammered it home, some of those things just don't make sense right now. And we've anticipated the fact that Tua's not going to start right off the bat. And I believe that's what it's going to be. I don't think that they are going to start Tua. I feel like they are doing things right in Miami. Kind of like I've said it from the beginning. They're running it like a dynasty. They didn't take their running back. They traded and got some cheap guys there. And I don't think the Tua is going to start right off the bat. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I'm seeing him look decent, but I'm seeing reports that kind of report the other way. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, as uninspiring and unsexy as that is, when that beard comes out there, that guy balls out, and I love watching him play. So I want Tua in as many dynasties as possible. And he is, I mean, there are so many values in your dynasty rookie draft where Tua just keeps falling there. And we all say this. You're like, I got DeAndre Swift at 107. I got Tua at 108 in some of these drafts. And Tua is a great value right now, but I do think Ryan Fitzpatrick starts the season. And I think that's good for guys like Mike Gesicki and Devontae Parker, who ended the season very, very strong. Ooh, no.
I'm with you. Yep.
Firm no.
On that.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is not good for anyone. It's not good for the Miami Dolphins.
It's not good for
the development of Tua. It's not good for the development of Preston Williams. It's not good. It's a waste of time. If Tua is healthy enough to play, put Tua out there. It's that simple. But they're going to be dumb, and they're going to do a Dolphins of the job. And they're going to put Fitzpatrick out there, lose 3 of 4, then put Tua out there. Tua looks like trash because he's just jumping in the middle of the season, trying to develop chemistry with guys who've been developing chemistry with a guy who's well into his 40s. And you've wasted an entire season for no reason. And this is why the Patriots continue to dominate the AFC East, because they're not stupid.
What do you think the Chargers are in that same kind of situation?
They're going to run out Tyrod Taylor for 12 plus games.
Tyrod's going to go out there and he's going to, ruin that situation. And, same with what Tyrod did.
It's a different situation, though. We went over this last week. It's a different situation. The Chargers team is good.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
As a Raiders fan here, Chargers team is good, and they have a chance to win. They have a chance to actually make the playoffs. The Dolphins are not good. There's no point in running out Ryan Fitzpatrick to just delay the inevitable of putting Tua in there. You're going to have Tua in there, so you might as well just put him in there and find out what you have.
Right. Well, I mean, the tricky thing in there is like, I guess you start Herbert and then he doesn't do well. Then you switch to Tua or to switch to Taylor. That's the kind of difficult situation there. But I feel like Justin Herbert gives that offense the best opportunity right off the bat. Nope.
Well, Andrew, I think this calls for a little over-under with Michael Royer, the Dynasty Dad. Hit him with a little over-under here, Andrew.
But first, a word from our sponsor.
Hey guys, I wanted to take a second and talk about our sponsor, Thrive Fantasy, the up-and-coming fantasy sports app where you can take your prop bets into the DFS style. It's a pretty sweet little thing, so make sure you guys head over to thrivefantasy.com or check out their app. Use promo code SQUIB, that's SQUIB, UIB, when you sign up today, and you'll receive an instant $20 match on your first deposit of $20 or more. You can download the Thrive Fantasy app at the App Store or on the Play Store by visiting their website at www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up to prop up today.
Prop betting DFS.
Prop betting DFS. We got some. By the way, we have some other sponsors in the old chamber that are similar to Thrive Fantasy. Be on the lookout for that. We got some. I don't know if you guys have played Prize Picks yet, but that's pretty sweet. We might have a little hookup with that one too. Anyways, under.
No go for us in PA.
Oh yeah, sorry, you guys are in the lame state of Pennsylvania. Sorry about that. For us that are in the 2020 year and we're up to date in our gambling laws, and we're with society, we have options of Prize Picks as well as Thrive Fantasy and some other places. So it's a gambler's dream here in Kansas City, Missouri. Anyways, over under here, Mike. Over under 8 games for Tyrod Taylor started.
Under. I think it's 6. I think it's
All right.
6.
Hey, this has been a really good. This has been a fun show.
He's turning me off
You
already.
guys want to go ahead and
Love it. I'm turning myself off. I don't even have the right clicker here. Where am I?
in broadcast.
Oh wait. Shoot.
Yeah, your
My
things
avatar's on the other computer.
your avatar's on the other one.
My Justin Herbert avatar.
Fail.
Am I settling this for the two of you? I mean, what I've seen from Tyrod Taylor, I was a Bills fan, and I thought he was decent there. But when you moved over to Cleveland, I mean, it was a shit show. I mean, let's go be honest. It was brutal.
It was not that bad.
Oh, it was rough.
And the Browns are a much worse team than the Chargers are.
I think so too. I mean, yeah, I definitely see that aspect of it. But Justin Herbert isn't. I mean, he's a 4-year starter at a major college. I feel like the sky's the limit for him, where Tyrod's going to hold him back a little bit, and we'll see what happens. I mean, the biggest thing I see in that offense is people are starting to discount Austin Eckler, and that's driving me nuts.
Oh, I love it, man. Bring on the Austin Eckler. Any discount you can get on Austin Eckler, who's going to eat up those targets. Eat them up, bro. I can't. Everybody wants to talk about, Tyrod, mobile quarterbacks don't really target their running backs. Yeah, guess what? Tyrod's not mobile anymore, okay? Tyrod is not the Tyrod that you think of. Tyrod is a game managing, ball control, good football player who is going to rely on his defense. And guess what? The safe, high percentage throw to his running back who's going to get him yak. So Hunter Henry, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen should be on everyone's radar, but apparently everyone's at a discount in LA. And that's, I guess, for us to take advantage of.
I'll take it all day. I mean, I saw a stat the other day. Austin Eckler, if he has 50 less receptions last year, he still finishes the RB7, and right now we're taking him as RB13. I mean, come on, there can't be any more fine writing on the wall.
Rookie fever, baby. Rookie fever. It is so bad. J.K. Dobbins, I love him to death, but in 2020, he's not going to outscore Austin Eckler.
I got Eckler for the 109 in the league a couple days ago, and I was just head over heels on that.
Well, let's talk a little bit more rookie fever, since I have a few more running backs I want to touch on, talking about training camp underway and kind of what's going on. Deandre Swift kind of got the little bit of a nudge in the draft after the Clyde Edwards-Helaire got drafted to Kansas City. We all know what Jonathan Taylor is and can be here in Indy behind that offensive line. He started to fall a little bit in the rookie drafts, a few months ago. He showed up to practice very well, in shape, showing a lot of effort, and he's definitely showing off his pass-catching abilities. Looks like they're already forcing Detroit into a running back by committee. Now, I think we all knew that was coming, just with the talent that DeAndre Swift had and the injury, if you want to label it as injury-prone, for Kerryon Johnson over his first couple years. So what are you guys' thoughts on DeAndre Swift, what you saw of him in college, and kind of how he's going to form into this Matt Patricia offense?
Well, I think Swift was one of the most complete backs coming out of this class. I mean, DeAndre Swift was a lot of people's 101, 102. I personally had Taylor, but he was right up there at the top until he goes to the Lions. And, people don't really want to associate with Lions running backs, but the talent is there. The cream rises to the top. And Kerryon Johnson, he's in brace right now, and I talked to my friend who's a doctor, an orthopedic surgeon, and those kind of things aren't necessarily to prevent injuries again. It's more for him being personally, somebody put he's better. Oh yeah, he's definitely better than Kerryon Johnson. But those kind of braces are more for your own mental, stability on things. It's not necessarily to prevent that injury. And Kerryon Johnson can't stay on the field. DeAndre Swift has become a major bargain in dynasty drafts, and I think people are starting to finally catch up on that because we all had him up there at the top of our boards. We had him in that situation. I feel like we do this every year in Dynasty, right? We have those guys and they go to a situation you don't like, and we start pushing them down. Like when Nick Chubb came out, Carlos Hyde was there, and we kind of pushed him down. I'm seeing things where people are saying, well, Kerryon Johnson's there, let's push DeAndre Swift. I mean, DeAndre Swift is a much more talented running back.
Yeah, and I love it. You are transitioning this for me perfectly. Nick Chubb was my next one on the list here. No rookie, but the concussion, kind of what's going on with Nick Chubb. Took a big hit in practice. The Kareem Hunt truthers are out and about. Where do you guys stand with that? I mean, obviously, when Kareem Hunt is in the game plan and on the field, he definitely takes some of that catching away. As we saw the end of last season, he racks up fantasy points with his receptions and yards after the catch. But Nick Chubb, in my opinion, is still the guy to be. He's still the running back to own. He's going to be your touchdown guy. He's going to be your 20-20 guy for the most part. I think Kareem Hunt is going to be more of a change of pace back. But if he's hot, and they're going to run with that. And I'm kind of looking to see what the new coaching staff in Cleveland is going to use Kareem Hunt as. But are you guys scared about Nick Chubb's concussion, or is this just a preseason concussion that is going to roll over and be ready for the start of the season?
No, I think I don't want to speculate, man, but if there's even a question that maybe they have a concussion, there's no need. It's like Miles Sanders when they all tweeted out that shit about he has a lower leg injury, or he's lower leg injury, lower body injury, as I say, lower body injury. That's about as vague as you can possibly be without like just creating an off day or taking things very, 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 very conservatively and things like that. I'm not saying Nick Chubb didn't have a concussion, because that's certainly possible. I'm just saying that if there was any indication at all that he had one, there's no need for him to be out there. None, zero, no need. So create the off day for him. He has his off day, whatever. Everyone gets all. I mean, we're as much as we'd like to think that Twitter is the only place that people that play fantasy football go to, or that is the only place of source of news, or it's the only place of people that are intelligent about fantasy football. That's not the case. We all are in a little echo chamber, and we all are going to overreact to every single little piece of news possible. And especially this time of year when there is nothing else going on in the football world. There's no preseason games. There's nothing to even get hyped about on that. So we're all going to get super hyped about any training camp news. We're going to get super hyped about any positive or negative training camp situation. So I'm not concerned about Nick Chubb. If you just like Miles Sanders, if you have someone who is for some reason concerned about either of those players, you should always be trying to send an offer to acquire talent. Like Mike said, cream of the crop always rises to the top. We're not concerned about depth chart whenever we're talking about supremely talented players, i.e. CD Lamb. I don't know if anyone's seen those training camp videos, but he's playing in all three slots in the wide receiver. He's lining up all three spots. You want to know why? Because he's a game breaker. He's a dude. He's a dog. He's the guy we've been talking about for months. CD Lamb needs to be on everyone's roster, and he's not. So he's on mine, so I'm good. Thanks. So
he's my number one owned rookie. I mean,
him and Laviska Shenault are my number one, number two rookies for sure.
I mean, this was 2015. He's probably the 101. There's been such a changeover. There's been such a changeover in the position, right?
CEH,
like
man.
We're talking in those days. We were talking about taking those wide receivers because they're safer, and CeeDee Lamb has become a bargain. To answer your question, I mean, we're all out there just trying to take in content. You see Devontae Adams missed like 3 plays in training camp, and now all of a sudden people were worried about it. The people get worried about the concussion. But I mean, what is there to worry about? Yeah, Nick Chubb was splitting with Kareem Hunt, but he was second in the NFL in rushing.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the most elusive running backs in space. He's a home run threat, and now he gets Stefanski. I mean, look what Stefanski did for Dalvin Cook's career. Nick Chubb is getting discounted here, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, me too. I think that's one. I think this is maybe one of my favorite underlying turn of events or storylines, I should say, that's happened in this offseason that no one has really talked about. The Browns running game is not going to be the Browns running game of last year. Not going to be the Browns running game you've ever seen probably before. They made massive overhaul on that offensive line, massive overhaul on the coaching staff by philosophy, all that kind of stuff. Kareem Hunt is going to be a slot receiver primarily. I envision Kareem Hunt being more of a Tariq Cohen who has the ability in the goal line. Okay, that's where I envision Kareem Hunt. So if that's the case, you have Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, and whatever tight end ends up winning out over there. And then you have Nick Chubb just eating up all the red zone carries, eating up all the garbage, all the ice it away type of scenarios to establish a trend or establish a dominance there in the run game. I think they're going to rely heavily on the run game, rely heavily on the defense, and pass when they need to. So for me, I think it's a buy on the Browns offense in general, but especially Nick Chubb and especially Kareem Hunt, both of them.
Yeah, and another running back that's caught my eye, especially after last year, Damian Harris finally seeing the field and taking first team reps in New England.
Is he still play for the Patriots? Because if so,
right.
Well,
I want to believe it's Damian Harris season, but it's like
and then week 3 it's Rex Burkhead. No,
I know. I was just talking about that on the refinery yesterday. Jared was saying it's Damian Harris season. And I'm like, well, Rex Burkhead's going to have one RB1's week, and James White's going to do his, and then Lamar Miller, just to frustrate you, is going to throw in some.
Who was that? Bolden? Was it Bolden?
Brandon.
Man, he was the worst.
Was he not the worst?
He'd just throw in like a 3 touchdown performance, and you're like, wait, I thought he was on special teams.
Yeah, LeGarrette Blount, that shit, dude. Like, just absolutely just irritating, irating you. Like you're going into the they play primetime because it's Patriots, or they're playing primetime, and you're going into a DFS showdown, and you're like, all right, we got everything's lining up perfectly, and then all of a sudden you got Brandon Bolden eating up 3 touchdowns, and Damian Harris has 150 yards, and it's like, can we just get some sort of touchdown protection from someone else? Like, oh, it's going to be no. So to answer your non-existent question, because we both jumped the shark a bit, no on Damian Harris.
Okay.
Damian Harris. It's just too deep. I think a lot of people are like I saw the one earlier today that was like Colin Johnson of the Jaguars. That was like, you need to be buying Colin Johnson as much as you can. It's not that Colin Johnson isn't going to be good, which I don't think he will be. If he's good, he's an outlier. His size and makeup is not conducive of any successful wide receiver ever. Like, he's too lanky. He should be playing basketball. Even if I didn't feel so strongly in that regard, there wasn't that going against him. Do you know how deep this wide receiver class is? Like, no, I'm not eating up a roster spot on Colin Johnson on the Jaguars, bro. I'm just not going to do it. There's just too many other options to do it. And the same thing kind of deals with Damian Harris. I don't want to play that game with the Patriots this year where I don't want to.
I don't want to bank on him. Since February, I've been getting him as a throw-in in deals because people forgot about him.
Sure, yeah,
that's the kind of thing you do with him right now is put him on that taxi if you have a 2-year taxi squad, or put him there towards the end. But look what he did at Alabama. I mean, the guy is talented. He was, actually the 1A to the 1B to Josh Jacobs. He was actually getting more carries there, and he's a talented running back. And they took him early. They took the draft capital. So we're assuming they were going to let Rex Burkhead walk in free agency. We're assuming they weren't. When Sony went on the pup list, we're like, all right, it's Damian Harris time. And then they go sign Lamar Miller, and you're like, you just want to make this more difficult.
It's the Patriots in or during or in the offseason. You everything that you think is about to happen, not going to happen. It's just like the opposite of whatever seems logical from a fantasy perspective, they're not going to do, because they don't give up about they don't care about your fantasy team. They don't care. Bill Belichick actually probably cares more about hurting your fantasy football team than he does about helping your fantasy football team. That's probably more in his head than him and his tickety talk and his snappy chatty and all that stuff. He is an ultimate troll without trolling.
Well, I think it's going to be a very interesting situation, especially with Cam Newton coming in. I wonder if that offense is still going to be existent the way that they want it to be, the way that Bill Belichick has brought up and Josh McDaniels, or if it's going to be more of a Cam Newton style offense where he's going to be running the ball a lot more. I'm very curious to see kind of which way that offense goes, because if it falls back to a run heavy offense to kind of keep Cam on his feet. This is the quarterback we have now. We don't really believe in Jarrett Stidham. So we're gonna kind of keep the ball out of Cam's hands for the most part in the running game. Then I think there's going to be some opportunities there for Damian Harris, who showed he could be a running back. Let's just hope it's not a lesser Trent Richardson type of running back situation kind of going on. But that leads me to one more running back. I know we're at 15 minutes here. Antonio Gibson in Washington. You now have Darius Geitz cut. You now have Adrian Peterson. What is he,
55, 60?
Yeah.
Him and Frank Gore drinking from the same.
They brought in Antonio Gibson to kind of be that X/back there, that wildcat receiver / running back, do it all kind of guy. Mike, what do you think? Do you have any confidence in Antonio Gibson to kind of come in and show it, or do you think this is Bryce Love's job to lose?
I think right now, I mean, Gibson, a lot of people are really, they're throwing out 21 first. So we've been talking about it for Antonio Gibson. You know, I was on GOAT District last week, and 20% of people said they're willing to pay a first round pick for Antonio Gibson at this point. That is not something I'm going to pay for a guy who's had 33 carries in his career. He is a great playmaker with the ball in his hands. But I cannot see a scenario where people are assuming he's going to become a bell cow now. I mean, a guy that's had 33 carries is not set for that. They did not draft him for that. I think Adrian Peterson's still going to start the season as the number 1. Bryce Love's probably the number 2 back as far as, first and second down work. And they're going to try to put Gibson all over the field and get him involved, and kind of like a very light version of what, the Saints did with Kamara his rookie year, and try to get him out there in space and get him balls that, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of videos in camp where, it looks like he's a good running back, but he just doesn't have enough carries. He's got to learn the game, and who better to learn from than Adrian Peterson? I mean, maybe he can put it together, but I think Ron Rivera's coach speak of trying to say he reminds him of Christian McCaffrey and things like that have blown it out of proportion. When we did our Dynasty Happy Hour mock, I think both you guys were in there back in February. I got him in like 4th round. And now we're talking about jumping him all the way to the 1st round in some rookie drafts, and I'm not doing it.
Yep.
Absolutely not. The team in Washington is a messy from year to year. I'm just not interested in figuring out and like having investment in figuring out who the running back is to own there. So many people are like, there's value in the unknown, and you should put some chips in on some of the backfields that aren't so clear in regards to like Washington or the Patriots, for example, places like that. And it's like, or like LA, I guess, or the Rams is a good example, maybe. The Rams would be the only one I'm interested in, because I think they have actual talent in that room, as opposed to the others who mentioned. Antonio Gibson is a nice prospect, and I think Phil Dog, Dynasty Phil Dog, Phil Pennington Jr. on Twitter did a good job, did a good little thread if you want to Google that or Twitter search that. But did a good little highlight thread for Dynasty Nerds talking about 4.39, 40, and 98th percentile, 122.8 speed, 99th percentile. The dude is a legit athlete, but like you have to take into a little bit of consideration of like who else is like what team he plays for, and the projections of like how much they're going to be scoring. Like I can't see them being a high scoring offense. I can't see them being a fantasy like conducive offense that I want to buy a bunch of shares or a bunch of ownership into. So for me, I'm just not into that. I think there's just more. Bryce Love is more intriguing to me, I think, than the guy was a collegiate all-star, prospect that was a can't miss, and then his knee goes out. So I think that's more of a gamble I'm willing to take than I am on Antonio Gibson. If the new price on Antonio Gibson is a 1st round in 2021, there is no way I'm paying that price.
Yeah, especially when you get Love for like a 4th round pick.
Yeah,
maybe
if you want to take that approach, if you want to take that approach of like getting a share of it or buying into part of the offense that is unknown, or buying into a backfield that's unknown, then buy the cheaper version. And if you miss, you miss. But if you win big. I can't be spending that much on a unknown commodity.
And in sadder news, where is Riverboat Ron's head going to be after just recently being diagnosed with cancer? So, you don't want to say that's going to be a reason to not, but that's going to be in his mind. It's going to be in his family's head. They're going to be talking about it. He's going to have all sort of things and appointments that he's going to have to deal with, and let's obviously shoot for the best for him. But as a player, as a player or a fantasy player, what we're trying to look for is, what happens if, God forbid, he does have to be out for some reason. Say he has to go for some sort of treatment or something along those lines. Who then comes in next? What's the scenario then? They just switched everything around to get into his offense from Jay Gruden, and now let's say he goes out. Now you're switching again to the offensive coordinator or whoever then would be deemed, interim head coach. And I think
that happened to Chuck Pagano at the same kind of same interlude. Maybe it was after Pagano had already been there a year. I can't remember the timeline. They
had Andrew Luck, not Dwayne Haskins.
It's a little different. A little different scenario. But Dwayne Haskins is still in the league. Andrew Luck isn't. So what does that tell you?
Hey, I hear it.
Nothing. It doesn't tell you anything, actually. No, I think the Washington fantasy offense is intriguing. I think.
I'm never going to Washington fantasy.
Not in the running back room for me too much. I like Bryce Love, sure, but like Dwayne Haskins is a buy because he's so cheap. Terry McLaurin is the only. I mean, Terry McLaurin's a. I'm gonna spoil a little bit of my rankings or whatever that I'm going to be putting out this week. Like my finalized 2020 rankings. I'm not 150% sure right now, but I'm 99% sure he's in my top 15 wide receivers.
I have him right at 15. Yeah. I'm hearing so many people. The more you play, the more you understand things. But they're saying, "Well, I don't want any piece of the Redskins offense." I mean. That's just a foolish, right? Yeah, sorry. It still feels weird, right?
It's super weird.
No, but McLaurin is going to eat. I mean, if you look at Pro Football Focus's grading over the last 10 years, he's number 2 as rookies behind only Odell Beckham. I mean, his rookie year was fantastic, and if he can get some competent play, I mean, he's going to be up there this year.
Yep.
Terry McLaurin is absolutely going to be a buy. There was a thread or a question by someone the other day that was like, who in the community, fantasy football community, do you like outside of anyone, like more than anyone else, do you trust? Like they have an opinion of a player, whether it be good or whether it be bad, you trust that person more than anyone else. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just how he says it, how confident he says things. But Evan Silva has always been the guy for me. Like I feel like if he says something, I listen, and like it's not like God's. I know he's not like I know he's not a fortune teller. I understand like he's not predicting the future. I just feel like he looks at things much more analytically than even I can do it, and he has a very good way of explaining why he is why he thinks a certain way. He couldn't be beating the drum louder for Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is like his guy, without him like shouting it from the rooftops, and so therefore he's become kind of my guy. And like at least why I've like been diving into him and really trying to understand like why is someone I respect so much on him so high, have him so high, and every metric that you try to measure Terry McLaurin in, amazing, great metric. Comparables is ridiculous. I mean everything, the production that he was able to do in year one is absolutely bonkers considering the quarterback play and the absolute abysmal offense of the team in Washington. So if they improve at all, which with Ron Rivera I wholeheartedly expect him to do, then Terry McLaurin is going to end up being, like I said, a top 15 wide receiver in 2020.
I think the crazy thing to look at is like we were taking him in third round of rookie picks, late second, early third. And the skepticism for me is he was going to have to be the number 1 as a rookie, and I'm like, Case Keenum's the quarterback. He's got to be the number 1. Yeah. It's late. I'm like I've been playing with the kids all weekend. And he started out the first 5 weeks with 5 touchdowns, and he really had a rapport with Keenum. He struggled a little bit with Haskins, but what he was able to do against number 1 corners and the way he was able to separate blew my mind, because I did not think as late of a draft pick he was that he was going to be able to play like that, and he's proven us all wrong.
I think that's why I'm so high on Bryan Edwards, because I feel like it's a similar situation as far as like physical makeup, breakouts, all that kind of stuff. He's on a team that no one really likes. Sorry. for fantasy, especially, in regards to quarterback play, like what we really expect Derek Carr and how we expect John Gruden to play call and things like that. That's why Josh Jacobs continues to lose value and stuff like that. But Henry Ruggs is a good weapon for regular football and for DFS. But in Dynasty, when you're looking for a little bit of regular production, a little bit of floor with unmatched, untapped ceiling, Bryan Edwards is the guy to own, especially at the discounted price compared to Henry Ruggs. And so I think that he could be this year's Terry McLaurin in regards to getting him in the late second, especially early on in rookie drafts, and him panning out to being something that, we're looking at this next year. Like, if you don't have Bryan Edwards, he's too expensive now. Good luck. Sorry. Try to find your next Bryan Edwards type situation.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. But guys, we're hitting that hour mark. So I wanted to first apologize and thank you for sticking up with my technical errors. Hopefully this second computer works here for you. Sound quality hopefully turns out okay, not having a mic or any headphones. Andrew, like always, it's been fun. Mike, how about you tell everyone where they can find your work, what they can what they can look forward to, any upcoming articles or podcasts you guys have coming up, and of course, we're excited. Tell everyone about the new poll that's out that you have going on, the bracket going on right now.
Yeah, I'm excited at that. I saw Jeff Lambert a couple weeks ago put out, the best people under 1,000 follows on Twitter, and they ran a tournament, and I was like, well, why don't we do that for podcasts? Like you started the Dynasty Refinery pretty close to the same time as you guys, and like I was like, I wish somebody would have put a little bit of light on us, in the beginning there. So I was like, let's form a tournament here. And we started it actually today. And there's 16 podcasts going to be on there, and it gives them an opportunity to put out their content for everybody to see it. And try to, what I love about the Dynasty community is everybody just works together. They build each other up. It's not a cutthroat kind of thing. We're all talking about each other's work and building up here. And I think you guys are one of the front runners in there. And I think it's an exciting thing. I said it's not in the group chat. It's not a matter of winning the tournament as much as it is building the exposure for everybody else and building everybody up. So something that I'm pretty excited about. And, hopefully you guys are, since you guys are in that. And it should be fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great way to, expand the community again. And some of these podcasts, us included, it reaches a bigger audience by having other people see it, just getting the retweets out. And the more it, kind of unfolds, more people see everyone else's work. And that's what it's all about. I mean, you could scroll through our page, your page, his page, doesn't matter whose page. And they're not just posting their own stuff. Any kind of football content you see out there, everybody is always pushing out everybody else's work, because that's what it's all about. That's what makes each of us better. So what about the podcast?
Sure. I got the Dynasty Dad Podcast, and I got to get you guys on there, as a couple of dads, and it's sharing a little bit of that Dynasty life, and fantasy life and mixing family in there, but a lot of, teaching. I love taking time and breaking down rosters and talking about how to properly do a rebuild and how to properly, assess your teams and do things like that. I got Scott Connor on next week. We have awesome guests coming up. We're going to talk about this time of year, assessing your roster and breaking down all of your teams, and I put that on Twitter the other day. It's like, find out how many contenders, how many, redraft mentality, and start going to work on them, don't just sit on the fence, because you want to be those top three or those bottom three. You don't want to be somewhere in the middle, and then obviously we just did episode 50 of the Dynasty Refinery. So that's still, going on and kicking, and we're excited to, continue putting out content on that. So a lot of things going on, and I couldn't be happier. Right now is a real fun time of year.
Yeah, we're 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away, guys. So Mike, again, thanks for coming on. Glad to have you on. We're going to, of course, have you back on again. We're excited to join your shows as well. Yeah. Andrew, you got anything to take us out with?
Yeah, I don't know if you have a countdown set on your phone or countdown maybe set on your computer, but Dynasty Owner Draft Monday night, 9 p.m. You and me going to go ahead and take down a Dynasty Owner Draft versus some big heavy hitters, dude, like Fantasy Pros guys, like some Dynasty Nerds guys, some 610 Sports guys here locally in Kansas City. Super excited about Dynasty Owner. If you guys haven't checked out Dynasty Owner, you absolutely should be checking out Dynasty Owner, DynastyOwner.com. They actually have a sweet app that is really, really user-friendly. Maybe one of the better apps in there. Find that on your Apple Store. And if you do decide to sign up for Dynasty Owner, please make sure to use code SQUIB whenever you do sign up, so that you are able to so they know where you found us and all that kind of stuff. So, or where you found them rather. So Dynasty Owner draft on Monday. Can't wait. We're going to be recapping that next week as well. Just kind of give you guys an idea of like the differences and like where we found. It's our first time, so where we found ourselves underwater, or if we found it to be easier than we thought, harder than we thought. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's going to be much more difficult than we even anticipate. So, nonetheless, also as a final parting shot, wear your masks, wash your fucking hands, and be nice to people.
I love it. I love it, guys. Thanks again for all of our content. Make sure to swing over to SidelineSquib.com. You can find all of our articles, rankings, staff, team members, DFS sites, videos, and podcasts. And don't forget about our partnering podcast, the DFS Docket. The DFS Docket, hitting you with all your DFS needs. So thank you guys again for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Sideline Squib.
Sideline Squib. It's a long time coming. Steve, Andrew, what say you? This is the sideline, yeah. Funny, it's my time then. Put me in right now then. Squib, 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 boy. This is the sideline, Funny, it's my time then. Yeah. Put me in right now then. Squib, 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 boy. This is the Squib. Info stick up to your ribs. Chips be coming with that dip. Go ahead, put it